The next few weeks changed everything. Up until that point, I thought Ryan's biggest secret was Emily. I thought I was uncovering a story about betrayal and lies. But I was wrong. What I discovered next made me realize Emily was only one piece of a much larger puzzle. And Ryan was standing right in the middle of it. The strange thing about secrets is that once one starts falling apart, the others usually follow. People who lie rarely stop at one lie. They create another, then another, then another. Eventually they become trapped inside their own stories. And that's exactly what was happening to Ryan. The more information I gathered, the more nervous he seemed. At first the changes were subtle. He checked his phone constantly. He became distracted during conversations. Sometimes I would catch him staring into space. Thinking, worried, as if something was weighing heavily on his mind. The pressure was building, and he knew it. One Monday evening, he came home unusually late. His shirt was wrinkled, his face looked exhausted, he barely spoke during dinner. Normally Ryan loved talking, he could turn any simple conversation into a long story. But that night he was quiet. Very quiet. I watched him carefully. Something had happened, I just didn't know what. Around midnight, after he fell asleep, his phone lit up. A single message appeared on the screen. I wasn't trying to read it. The preview was impossible to miss. It said, "We need to talk. This can't wait any longer." The message was from Marcus. The same man whose name kept appearing everywhere. The same man connected to Ryan's financial records. The same man who seemed nervous about something. I stared at the message. My instincts immediately told me this wasn't about Emily. This was something else. Something bigger. The following day Ryan left early. Instead of going to work, he drove across town. I knew because I followed him. For weeks I had been collecting evidence. Now I needed answers. Ryan eventually parked outside a small office building. A few minutes later Marcus arrived. The two men entered together. And stayed inside for nearly 2 hours. When they finally came out, neither looked happy. Marcus appeared frustrated. Ryan looked stressed. They argued briefly in the parking lot before walking away. That moment told me everything. Whatever secret they were hiding, it was falling apart. The next breakthrough came from pure luck. 3 days later, Olivia invited me to lunch. Halfway through the meal, she mentioned something unexpected. "Do you remember Ryan talking about his investment company?" My fork froze. "Investment company?" "Yeah." She looked confused. "I thought you knew." I shook my head. "No." Olivia suddenly looked uncomfortable. Apparently Ryan had been telling people he was involved in a growing business project. A project that promised huge profits. A project several people had invested money into, including some mutual friends. My stomach dropped, because I had never heard about any investment company. Not once. Not in 3 years. Ryan had hidden it completely. The moment lunch ended, I started digging deeper. What I found shocked me. The investment company existed. Ryan and Marcus were both connected to it. And things weren't going well. Several investors were demanding answers. Projects had stalled. Money had disappeared. Questions were growing. Suddenly the pieces started fitting together. The late nights. The secret meetings. The constant stress. Ryan wasn't only balancing 2 relationships. He was balancing an entire network of lies. The deeper I looked, the uglier the situation became. One evening I found myself sitting alone in my apartment after Ryan claimed he was visiting a client. I opened my notebook. Over the previous month, I had filled page after page with information. Dates, names, messages, events, patterns. Looking at it all together felt surreal. This wasn't the man I thought I loved. This was someone else entirely. A stranger wearing a familiar face. I remember staring out the window that night. The city lights glowed beneath the darkness. Cars moved slowly through the streets. People continued living their lives. And I sat there wondering how many others were being deceived by the same person. Emily, investors, friends, me. How many versions of Ryan existed? How many stories was he telling? The answer frightened me, probably more than I could imagine. That realization changed my mindset. Before, I wanted answers. Now I wanted accountability. There was a difference. A huge difference. Answers explain what happened. Accountability forces people to face what happened. And Ryan had spent years avoiding accountability. The next major clue arrived unexpectedly. One Saturday morning Ryan left his email open on the laptop. Normally he never made mistakes like that. But stress makes people careless. And Ryan was under pressure. I wasn't looking for drama. I was looking for facts. Facts don't lie. People do. The emails revealed months of conversations. Conversations filled with promises, deadlines, excuses, apologies. Investors wanted updates. Ryan kept delaying. Marcus kept warning him. The situation was becoming impossible to manage. Then I found an email that completely changed the story. The subject line simply read, "Final warning." My heart raced as I opened it. The message came from one of the investors. It wasn't angry. It wasn't emotional. It was direct. The investor wanted answers regarding missing funds and broken promises. The deadline was approaching. If answers weren't provided soon, serious consequences would follow. I sat back in my chair. Everything suddenly made sense. Ryan wasn't just hiding secrets. He was running from them. Every lie required another lie. Every excuse created another problem. His entire life had become a balancing act. And eventually balance runs out. The more I learned, the calmer I became. That surprised me. I expected rage. I expected heartbreak. Instead, I felt focused. Crystal clear. For weeks I had been reacting emotionally. Now I was thinking strategically. Ryan believed he controlled the narrative. But the truth was already moving beneath the surface. Quietly, patiently, like a storm gathering strength. The best revenge isn't chaos. The best revenge is truth. Because truth doesn't need exaggeration. Truth doesn't need manipulation. Truth only needs exposure. And Ryan had given me more truth than I could ever need. By the end of that month, I had enough evidence to confront him. Enough evidence to walk away. Enough evidence to expose everything. But I didn't. Not yet. Because something told me there was still one final secret. One final piece missing from the puzzle. And if I acted too early, I might never find it. So I waited. I watched. I listened. And then one evening, everything changed. Ryan received a phone call. The moment he answered, his face lost all color. He stood up immediately, walked into another room, closed the door, but even from a distance, I could hear the panic in his voice. The conversation lasted less than 5 minutes. When he returned, he looked terrified. Not worried, terrified. I had never seen him like that before. For the first time since I met him, Ryan looked like a man who knew his world was about to collapse. And the strange thing, he had no idea that I already held the key that could bring it down. What happened next would become the turning point. The moment the hunter became the hunted. The moment Ryan realized his lies were no longer protecting him. And the moment I began creating a lesson he would never forget. The phone call changed Ryan. I noticed it immediately. For weeks, he had been stressed. Now he looked scared. There was a huge difference. Stress makes people distracted. Fear makes people desperate. And desperate people make mistakes. Lots of them. The morning after that mysterious phone call, Ryan barely touched his breakfast. He stared at his coffee as if it contained answers. His hands trembled slightly, not enough for most people to notice. But I noticed. I noticed everything now. Everything okay? I asked casually. Ryan forced a smile. Yeah, just work stuff. Another lie. Another automatic excuse. It was almost sad at this point. Not because I believed him. Because he believed I still did. That was Ryan's biggest mistake. He thought he was the smartest person in the room. People like that eventually defeat themselves. You just have to give them time. After he left, I sat alone in the apartment thinking. For months, I had been gathering evidence. For weeks, I had been uncovering secrets. But now I needed a plan. Not an emotional reaction. Not a dramatic confrontation. A plan. Because exposing one lie wasn't enough. Ryan had spent years creating this mess. If the truth came out, it needed to come out completely. Every secret, every deception, every broken promise. No shortcuts. No mercy. No confusion. Just facts. And facts are incredibly powerful. Especially when someone has spent years running from them. That afternoon I made a decision. I would talk to Emily. Not because I wanted revenge. Because she deserved the truth too. The same truth I had spent months uncovering. The same truth Ryan had hidden from both of us. Finding her wasn't difficult. Finding the courage was. For nearly an hour, I sat in my car outside a coffee shop where she often worked remotely. I kept asking myself the same question. What if she already knew? What if she didn't care? What if she hated me? Eventually I realized none of those possibilities mattered. The truth mattered. So I walked inside. Emily looked exactly like she had the day I saw her with Ryan. Confident, professional, completely unaware of who I was. I approached her table. Emily. She looked up. Yes, my name is Sarah. The moment I said Ryan's name, her face changed. Confusion, then realization, then panic. I sat down. For several seconds neither of us spoke. The silence felt endless. Finally she broke it. You're Sarah. I nodded. The color drained from her face. She looked horrified. Not guilty. Not defensive. Horrified. That reaction surprised me. Then she whispered something I never expected. Oh my God. 3 simple words. But they told me everything. Emily didn't know. At least not the full story. For the next hour, we talked. Really talked. And the more we shared, the worse things became. Ryan had been lying to both of us. Telling different stories. Making different promises. Creating different futures. Emily believed Ryan was preparing to end a complicated relationship. I believed we were building a future together. Both stories were lies. Carefully crafted lies. By the end of our conversation, Emily looked devastated. So did I. Not because we hated each other. Because we realized we had both been manipulated. Neither of us was the enemy. Ryan was. As strange as it sounds, that meeting became the beginning of an unexpected friendship. Not a close friendship, not immediately, but a partnership, two people searching for the same truth, and together, we were far stronger than Ryan realized. Over the following weeks, Emily shared information I never had access to. Messages, promises, dates, screenshots, everything. The evidence grew rapidly. Every new piece confirmed the same thing. Ryan wasn't confused. Ryan wasn't making mistakes. Ryan was choosing deception, repeatedly, deliberately, without remorse. At least that's what it seemed. Then Marcus entered the picture. Completely by accident, one evening Emily called me. Her voice sounded shocked. "Sarah, you're not going to believe this." "What happened?" "I just got a message." "From Ryan." "No." She paused. "From Marcus." My heart skipped. Ryan's business partner. The man who seemed connected to everything. What did he say? "He wants to meet." That changed everything. 2 days later, the three of us sat together in a quiet restaurant. Me, Emily, Marcus. The meeting felt surreal. Marcus looked exhausted, like someone carrying a heavy burden. After a few minutes,